This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to Djuma Private Game Reserve in South Africa. My name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Craig, and it is a wonderful, cool, overcast morning of about 23 degrees Celsius, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And well, we'd love to hear from you, of course. You know the all-important hashtag SafariLive. Throw your questions and comments there on the Twitter, as well as any comments and questions you might have on the YouTube chat stream. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you'd like to talk about this morning. We are going to investigate something around the dam. I believe some viewers heard some lion contact calling last night. We don't know what time, but the question I have to those viewers who commented, was it the proper loud roaring of a lion, or was it the which is a contact call which is much closer? And if you heard that, well then they're going to be lions nearby. But the Avoca males are in the north and they are calling all the time. So if you heard lions roaring rather than a contact call, then let me please, so we can try and investigate. But needless to say, we're going to have to see what we can find. We're looking for some tracks. So far, nothing yet to report, but it is a wonderfully cool morning. Craig goes on leave today. We all wish him very well, Craig. Have a good leave. He's going to be riding a motorbike very, very far. That this rainfall that is sort of looming in the distance, well, goes away. Don't you, Craig? Craig? Yeah? He's kind of smiling, semi-smiling. Okay. So, Puma, you didn't hear the calls nearby, but you think it was contact calls. The proper of male lions doing a proper, this is my spot, and then you get the That's my version of it anyway. Please don't mock me if it's not that great. In my head it sounds awesome. A lot of things in my head sound awesome. The three other voices as well. But anyway, we'll just keep that to myself for right now. So we had a nice little sighting of elephants just at the end of the show last night, right here by the Voetele Pan. It was a really big, too much signs of must, but he was very interested in a little group of ladies. Of course, we were talking about it last night, all about the ladies out here. And when we're talking about ladies, we've got a nice, beautiful herd of impala off to the left-hand side here. They're not far away from the water. And look at all of them accumulating in nice, large groups. Lots of little babies there. Everyone's wishing you a good leave, Craig. We all do. Come back safely and enjoy your time off over the Christmas period, while the rest of us stay here and work during this period. It's actually quite a nice time of year to work over Christmas and New Year's. I've always quite enjoyed it. As you can see, lots of baby impala in amongst there. Some one-year-old male impalas as well that are being tolerated in the herd. And they all just sort of melt together. Very interesting if you looked at that with the eye of a leopard or with the eye of a lion, is that they all kind of mix to each other. Ooh. One of them just alarm called. I don't think it's too much. Carol, you said it's a nursery herd. Indeed it is. What's interesting is that the nursery herd itself, that sort of nursery herd on its own, has sort of amalgamated now with the breeding herd itself. Early stages, you'll find just 50, 60 youngsters all on their own on the side with maybe one adult. And then slowly but surely, as they become a lot more fleet-footed and more agile, they just sort of melt back into the herd where they are actually safer, like this, where they follow mum. They're constantly able to feed at their leisure, but they also starting to feed on the vegetation as well by this stage, not being as reliant on mum. When they're away in those nursery herds, they basically just hang around and just wait for mum to come back from a feeding session to provide them with milk. But there you can see some of the youngsters, heads down, enjoying the nice tasty greenness of summer. They are just too cute. There's something undescribably cute about some baby impalas. And those two are learning how to scratch their own backs. Important survival lessons are a little bit of mutual grooming there. Hello, Kaz. You want to know when the male baby impala get kicked out? Well, looking at the herd there, you saw there's one in the front there, Craig. That male busy slashing the branches. He was born in November of last year. You can tell that by the length of the horns. Now, he's tolerated right now, but as soon as the rutting season starts to sort of get underway, as early as sort of late February, the males start demarcating territories. Those males will be pushed out, completely pushed out, and they'll have to hang out with other boys of the same age or even older males. But the young baby impalas that you see now, the boys that come through in that breeding group, well, they'll be tolerated. They'll hang out with the herd for the whole year. They won't be pushed away. They'll only have very small horns by the time the rutting season happens. And while they're not any threat, and they're completely tolerated within the herd by sort of the dominant rutting males. But I was talking yesterday about recruitment of trees and how the knob thorns are being damaged by elephants. But you can imagine a herd here of 60, 70 impala walking through and all of them having a little nibble on a baby tree or a baby sapling that's coming through. I mean, if you have a look just a little bit further to the left there, Craig, if you can scan around there, sorry mate, you'll see that if there are any babies that are coming through there, well, the bush clearing team is moving through, and anything that happens to maybe supplant itself there will quite easily basically just get eaten. So we always talk about the elephants and their destruction on the landscape, but what role does the impala play in limiting the recruitment of these tall trees? Well, no doubt on foot, Sydney will be seeing some interesting things as well. Let's go over to him and see what his plans are for the morning.
I am now still deciding on my plan for this morning, and I'm very much happy with this kind of weather as it's overcast at the moment, and this maybe will help in order for us to see quite a lot of interesting movement of the tiny little insects and some of the big animals. A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of our morning walk. This is Sydney Fumorani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator this morning. I am going to be looking for the tiny little animals as I have indicated, and for in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So you can hear there's quite a lot of birds making noise. The Cape Turtle dove is making noise this side, and some francolins are making noise much more this side. James, I am going to begin looking for a mic. So I've got my mic pack already, and I might get the mic today because it did not rain last night. The problem is after rains, the compaction of the droppings becomes loose and I can't have them here on my stick. So this morning I might be lucky and come across a dry one. Carol, we might find Hosanna on foot. As usual, nature is unpredictable. We don't know what is behind the bushes. You might find that Tingana or Hosanna is somewhere around here. So we're just going to follow up on all the warning signals we will be hearing while we're out on this guided walk. Because now from the vehicles, Mrs. Lapwing, I will try by all means and get you some of the lapwings, the plovers. Hopefully, we might find some this morning. I was saying the chances of seeing these animals from the vehicles are becoming very difficult these days, but on a guided walk, we'll try and see if the walks are making a difference. So if we hear any kind of a warning call, we are going to investigate. So I just heard the squirrel as well, making noise much more this side, but it was just a once off. You can hear that squirrel is doing. So when the squirrels are doing that, is when they are seeing something. So the problem is, these small animals have got quite a lot of different predators. You might find that it's not the predator we want to see this morning, it's maybe a small predator. They even make noise when seeing some of the snakes. So also when seeing some of the big birds. So maybe it was just a territorial call. Nature girl, when I am looking at the sky, I can see that it is overcast and the temperature at the moment is not that very high. So the reptiles such as the pythons, the big snakes, it's difficult to see them unless they caught something, because these python, when having something, they don't just move away immediately. They spend a little bit of time at the same area trying to digest a little bit and have their prey fit nicely inside before they go. So we might be lucky because the pythons, now when these animals have got babies, is when they are also hunting for their survival. So now let's cross over to one of my colleagues and see how he's doing.
Thanks, sitters. Well, look at what we found. We found a cuckoo in the tree, and I wonder if any of you out there are able to identify it for me. It's possibly two. Could be one of two. It's quite a tricky one because the light's not that great. So if you have any ideas, if you can get a better view than I can right now, then please hashtag SafariLive or throw your answer on the YouTube chat stream. It's definitely a cuckoo. It's one of the grey cuckoos. It's got, he just turns a little bit more there. We'll be able to see the colour of that beak. The colour of the beak is either yellow with a sort of a dark tip, or it's more sort of dark. Oh, and it's gone. Mrs. Lapwing, that's a very good guess. Very good guess, African cuckoo. I was thinking it possibly was an African cuckoo. It might also have been a common cuckoo. They're very similar though, and we didn't really have too much light. But could have most certainly been an African cuckoo. Nice to see though, but I don't know if you spotted it as well. As it flew off, the Wahlberg's eagle flew, basically chased it. Okay, so now Thomas is saying a common cuckoo. So I hope you're all taking some screenshots. So when I get back this morning, I'll be able to have a look and see exactly which one it was. But see, let me show you on my phone here. The difference between the two cuckoos is really very similar. I mean, have a look at the common, or the African. The tip of the beak is dark and mainly yellow, and the common, most of it is dark. Other than that, the bird looks identical. What's very nice to know about them is the African calls and the common cuckoo doesn't call. So if you hear the cuckoo, cuckoo, the typical, let me play the common cuckoo for you. Is that a typical sound? That's the common, which we don't hear that in South Africa. So that you'd hear in Europe, those of you who are quite familiar with European birds. And the African cuckoo, this is a typical cuckoo sound we hear in South Africa. Which I heard not far from here the other day. But Doesn't matter. It could have been either one of them. The mystery of Mother Nature out here sometimes is just the way it's going to be. It was a cuckoo, most certainly, and I can't right now tell you exactly which one. But nice to know that we... Yes, Jeremiah, that first one, the African cuckoo, no doubt it is where the cuckoo clock has come from. Cuckoos are very common. Well, the common cuckoo, as the name implies, very common in Europe, where they breed, and they'll only come down here for a little bit of feeding this time of year with the proliferation of all our insects. But seeing as they breed in Europe, they come down here and there's no need to make any sound. So they're silent in Africa, as far as I'm aware, whereas the African cuckoo, as the name implies, they are probably distant cousins. They decided to stay on the continent and to breed. All cuckoos, well, all cuckoos with the name cuckoo are in fact brood parasites. If you've never heard the term brood parasite before, that is an individual that lays its eggs in the nests of other birds. Very crazy. I find cuckoos lay in the nests of others, and those eggs hatch cuckoos. They see a parent that helps to have them, which is a completely different species bird, and they know, okay, I am actually a cuckoo, I'm not a starling or a fork-tailed drongo or whatever it might be. They and mate with cuckoos and then on the trait of laying eggs in others. I find that incredible, because it's a well-known fact with most birds that if you rear them from chicks, is that they imprint on the first thing that they see. So very well known studies with geese and the like is that if you do happen to rear the eggs, you have to use puppets to rear them, because they imprint on the person. So they suddenly think that they are a human being and they need to mate with a human being and speak with humans, and that is their lifestyle. Quite a dangerous one, because there was a Verreaux's eagle. I was talking about the black eagles, the Verreaux's eagle, that was imprinted upon by people. And the problem is with Verreaux's eagles is they are extremely territorial, and whenever they see another Verreaux's eagle, they will attack it and they will try and kill it. So now this bird is locked up at a rehabilitation center outside Hoedspruit, because every time it sees a human being, it tries to have a go. And you've got huge talons bigger than my hands. It's not a fun experience to have an eagle attacking you every time. So that imprinting is very well known in many bird species, but cuckoos, they just know. I mean, imagine waking up in the household of an Englishman and knowing that you actually Spanish and speaking Spanish fluently. Incredible. Obviously, that's just the language. Birds are completely different species, so I find that fascinating. Cuckoos really, really do interest me, and this time of year we have so many of them around that it's really quite nice to spend some time. And last night we saw a couple, but weren't able to really get any view of them. They were chasing each other around. But anyway, on we go. No tracks as of yet of any lions. We also switch off every now and again to have a little bit of a listen, see what's going on. You never know, lions come in and out of this property. You've probably noticed over the last couple of days we haven't seen too much in the way of sort of large game. There's lots of impala, of course. So the lions, as we noticed in the Mara, they like to follow the big herds, the big animals. When you're in a pride of 10, 11, 12, impala just doesn't cut it. So a wildebeest, zebra, or maybe even that family of giraffe we saw just the other day with Holly on our eastern boundary, they might follow them. So keep our eyes peeled. Well, talking about the Mara and the lions up there, David Gitu has managed to avoid the rain, it seems, this morning after having a nightmare in the storms. He is dry, he is high, and he is up in the Mara ready to say good day.
Well, it's a very good morning from the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and we started our morning in style because it's not raining. The last few days we have been hammered by rain every other morning and every other afternoon. My name is David, and on camera with me today is Archie. Archie, good morning. We are very excited to have you on board. As much as it's not raining, it's a bit chilly. I have my Masai Shuka on 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. But that does not stop us from doing what we need to do. And what I need to do today is to go to the Sausage Republic and look for them. I have not seen them for a couple of days. I didn't go there last night because we were hammered for about 2.5 hours and I did not appear on the show. Went back to the camp, a very frustrated gentleman. But I'm a lot happy today. As much as we need the rain, we would be very happy to be out here. Remember, as usual, our drive is very interactive. Any questions and comments, please send them through #SafariLive, and you can keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. As I keep heading out, I'll take you straight down, because this way you go all the way to South Africa, maybe to see elephants.
Look at that, I've got a very beautiful big bull elephant here, and this elephant is so very much relaxed at the moment. I can see he was feeding. Oh, now he's trying maybe to investigate there. I can see he is playing the trunk all the time. So he might be doing some investigations about our presence or the presence of something. You can see he's now just throwing some of the soil on his body. Maybe this is about just cooling the body, but it's too early at the moment and there is no sun. Let me rather say he's doing something with the soil. So he's so peaceful at the moment. So he's so very peaceful at the moment. He's not worried about anything. So I am sure that he is trying to check what's happening at the moment. So the elephant, the males, normally you see them walking just by themselves. They do move off from the big head and just be by themselves for quite a while. But they still have got a communication with their head. So the communication they can do below our hearing can travel long distances up to approximately 10 kilometers. When you hear the elephant doing that kind of noise, such as that kind of a noise can go long distances on the ground. So that is happening below our hearing and below the other animals' hearing. If he picks that up, he can be able to go back to their head and they are going to reunite again. You will see them giving each other some kind of greeting ceremonies. Elephants, they are so very much social. Welcome to the interesting sighting. I have got this very big elephant bull here behind me, and this elephant is so very much relaxed. This is Sydney Apumurani Mikosi, and I am here with Dave, who is my camera operator. We are having a good sighting here. Look at that. This is a very big elephant which is so very much relaxed at the moment, and it's not very far away from where we are, so I'm sure he's not stressed at all because there's quite a lot of food availability and a lot of water for him. When the elephant is walking by himself, it does not mean he's got stress. It's normal. So they will just go back to the head after some time. Sometime you will see them walking together with the other young males of the same age. When you see them like that, you must know that little ones are just getting manners from the old ones. Gary, I think this is one of the oldest bull in the game reserve. Looking at his body size and the size of the tusk, he might be close to 40 or 45. So this kind of animals don't get surprised that is heavy trying to read the situation at the moment as that elephant is moving. They can survive up to 65 years, and that is quite a lot of number of years. Elephants don't really have a lot of predators. So the only threat to the elephant is the disease and the human beings. Predators such as the lion, sometimes big prides can take down a fully grown elephant. In some of the area that has been recorded. The possibilities of more elephants around me are very much low at the moment, as I can't hear anything breaking down any branches here. So I think he's just by himself. So I'm changing the spot now according to the instruction from the game scout. We are approaching to see this elephant nicely from this direction, and we are so lucky the wind is on our favor. So we can see him nicely here. I can see it's right there at the back. Look at that. So you can see that this elephant is so big. Look at the space here. Maria, this is awesome. Look at the gap between the tusks. You can see that it can easily contain a tree before he pushes it. Because these elephants, for them to get hold of the roots, sometimes they push down trees and they use their head in order to push. If they don't want to do that, if it's a small tree, they step on it. If they don't want to do that, sometimes they use their body to push the tree backwards. So they've got different strategies. Sammy James, this is a huge elephant. Look at that. Look at those ears. Very big ears. You can see those ears are good for cooling the body when it's too hot. But at the moment, there's no movement of the ears too much. Maybe he's trying to pick up what is happening in the surrounding at the moment. But when it's too hot, ears, they work a lot. Liz, unfortunately, the elephants, they are not threatened at all by the predators. When the elephant is isolated like we are seeing now, he's not jeopardizing his life at all. These elephants are powerful and they can be very aggressive. You will see every time when the predators are passing by that when the elephant is investigating predators, they just avoid them. Even the pursuit predators, those that are cooperating the hunting activities such as the lions, you will see when one of them is interested to try an elephant, other ones don't follow. They know this is a dangerous animal. So it's not going to be easy for a lion to jump. It's not going to be easy for a lion to jump over an elephant. This is such a big animal. And the skin as well is too hard. So that elephant is so very much relaxed, and we don't want to disturb him. So this is bringing us to the end of the beautiful sighting. So we're just going to live silently here. Until we come across again something interesting. Goodbye. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara where David is having some lions.
Do not.
Very well done, Sydney, to see an elephant bull on foot. That is pretty exciting. Well, I got some lions here, and they're just taking it easy. I'm sure after the rains, they need to stay pretty close together to keep their warmth. And this pride is the Owino. These are the Owinos. And they're always 5 in number, 4 females and 1 youngster. I'm sure they still haven't woken up. It's time someone offered them a cup of coffee to wake up. And all the cats in the world, lions are the most social. So their strength is being together, defending their territory, sourcing for food, or when they have to deal with any situation when they hunt. Always they go as a group. So it's very difficult to see any particular pride when they're like miles apart. The longest they would be could be maybe half a mile or 1 mile away, or occasionally should you get one of the females maybe mating with the male, then that time it could be like 3-5 miles away. Then as soon as the honeymoon is over, she will rejoin the rest of the pride. A bit quiet where we are. We had massive rains, as I said earlier, the last, I would say, 48 hours, but we have started with a beautiful day, and you can look at the background there, seeing all the Oloro escarpment, quite clear. And as much as you look at the sky, it is very grey, quite grey. Who knows what might be happening later in the day. These lions, I think they're trying to get as much warmth as they can this morning before maybe the sky opens again for more rains. But as it is, it's pretty fine for now. Blending in very well in the grass there, but what sorted them out was the white belly. Well, Patrick, depending on what I imitate, I would say at the moment hyenas are the ones I would think would just come around, Patrick. But again, if you don't do it right, they may not come. But the only predator I would think that could come around now could be hyenas. Well, Patrick, I think I want to leave these lions here. There's one that has its toe pulled to the right there, Archie. It's got all the way up. And I'm trying to imagine that one there. I'm guessing it's the female, or the lead female here that we call butternut. And you can see how she is breathing, which is not bad. I like the normal panting when they get pretty hot. So this one looks very big to me, and the belly looks swollen, indicating maybe this could be butternut. Butternut the other day was mating, and I think, or we all think, she got pregnant. And if she did, then chances are she'll be carrying some cubs that she'll be dropping pretty soon. Not sure when. My destination was going to look for the sausages, and there are two females there that I have been talking about dropping the young ones, and one is called the kingtail, and another one. They haven't done that, but as much as they haven't done that, we haven't seen them for like 4 or 5 days. So I've seen the males, but not the girls. I would be really happy. I can't wait to know what is the current status of those girls, and those two in particular. Well, this guy is just quite flat, not doing much. I would want to believe they must have eaten at one point, looking at their bellies, and no doubt they're just sleeping there. Proud Cat Mama, 114 decibel, I think it's correct. Proud Cat Mama, what I would say for a fact, lion roars have been picked about 10 kilometers away. 10 kilometers away, and I would say, what am I talking about? Maybe 6-7 miles, more or less, in terms of distance. But Proud Cat Mama, what I know, it will always, of course, depend on the age, of the lion, number one. Number two, whether it's a male or females. Males tend to be much louder to me, but they can do more decibels than females. So Proud Cat Mama would say it's very possible, but what I know, 10 kilometers lions have been heard, and of course females may be less than 110, maybe 80, 85, but lions, the males, and especially the old ones, are much louder. And like this time around, with all the rains we're having, the lions have to remark their territories, and they do that by roaring again. They'll be doing a lot of scent marking. So when it rains, all the markings that have been there are all washed away, so they have to do it again. And of course, roaring is one more thing. Let's have one more quick at these flat lions, and then we're going to leave them to go to my actual destination to look for those girls. Turning around there. Oops, well done. Who are you? There's one particular young male here, not sure it's that one, that was battered a few months ago. When Butternut left to go and mate, he decided to leave the pride and to wander around. Not sure he was trying to get a coalition, and he was not invited, and he came back with very big and many teeth marks and claw marks, but he has since recovered. Well, lions are always good to watch, but they can keep you, or sometimes they can just not really bore you, but they frustrate you when they don't do anything. Unlike elephants, like what Sydney had, an elephant will always be on the move or entertaining you. In the background, we can hear ring-necked dove. I'm sure everybody's happy this morning, because we don't have as much rain as the other day. Well, the Owinos, I want to wish you a lovely day. Sorry about my head. Let's go back to Sydney, the gentleman who is doing lots of wonderful tracking this morning.
I am looking for some animals right here, and I found some old drag marks showing that one of these animals has been here. And when I'm looking at this, you can see the gap between these legs is just this big. So it means this animal, when he's walking, you must check the tracks. They are very much close to each other, and he walks, and you can even see the gap sometimes in the middle. So here is telling me that this animal dragged the feet, and these hooves were coming the keratin, which is consisting the toes, is the one which was scratching here, and this is from the rhino. Both black and white rhinos, they do this kind of behaviors. But when it comes to the black rhinos, you will see where they demarcate, make use of the droppings. Both male and females, they do defecate at the same spot. Whereas the white rhinos, only the males is the one who normally demarcate. So this is telling you that we are inside one of the rhinos' territory. So black and white rhinos, they share the same territories, and they can sometimes demarcate at the same spot. You will see their droppings on top of each other. Alana, these animals, they don't really get bothered by our presence. Every time when they look at us, the animals in general, not specifically the rhinos, when they see us, sometimes they do make a call. They are those who are used to the rangers patrolling, who don't worry about our presence when we are in the bush. But some of them, when they pick up our presence, they give some warning calls, and then they start to communicate. Animals such as the wildebeest, you will see most of the time when they pick us our presence, you will hear them giving some kind of warning calls. But they don't make it serious. So you will just hear that it's a call just warning each other that is something. But when there's a predator, that is when they mobilize. You will hear the calls coming from different directions. So I can see here that one of the animal has been here. Oh, if you come here, you will see this is a very big dropping here. It's showing that a big elephant was here. Maybe this is the elephant we have just spotted when we have started. These are very big droppings. And there's quite a lot of flies here. The dung beetles, they are not here yet. So I'm sure dung beetles will come and visit. So these droppings here we are seeing, this is a place where quite a lot of flies are laying their eggs. So this is a breeding site, and it's also an incubation site. So the flies, they breed here and they incubate their eggs here, and after that is when they will have the babies. So the dung beetles, when the dung beetles are coming to this spot, something very important you must remember is that they are coming here in order to facilitate something which is to do with the general public health. Because the flies do spread diseases. And when dung beetle comes here, they will destroy this. When they're destroying the incubator, and they're destroying the whole breeding site. And they also destroy the eggs at the same time of those kind of flies. So you can see that having those kind of insects is very much important in this ecology. Not only about wildlife, but this also benefits us. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is having the sunrise.
Well, from an elephant dung to a huge or very nice sunrise in the Mara Triangle. And maybe if this will be the trend, we might be seeing now more sunrises, because we have gone 3-4 days or 3-4 straight mornings without proper sunrise or proper sunset. And this has made my day. Just having seen the Owinos a few minutes ago, and it just turned the car, and now like, wow, look to the left. And that's what I call natural framing, having the sunrise with a tree there, the Boskai tree. And what a beautiful eastern horizon. And this has brightened my spirit even more, which makes me think chances are I'll be able to see the sausage of pride this morning. What a beautiful sunrise. I've been calling this now my golden moment. Every day I see a sunrise or sunset. So you're going to pause for 10-15 seconds. Jeremiah, you say this looks like a painting, and you are absolutely right. You might think this is not real. Thank you, Jeremiah, but this is exactly as it is. And I'm sure you know, Jeremiah, we always come to you live 100%, both from South Africa and Kenya. And you couldn't ask for a better morning, either going to the office or, you know, wherever you could be going. But I think today is a Saturday. Sometimes when you're out in the bush, we are not able to tell Saturdays from Sundays and Mondays. And I'm looking forward to my Christmas being like this, Jeremiah, and hopefully you'll be there for me to give you a wonderful sunrise and a beautiful Christmas from Africa. It's not very far, another 2-3 days. And hopefully this is how the Christmas morning will start. All the beautiful colors you'd think of as that sun pushes up from the eastern horizon. Many wonderful colors. I don't know how, Jeremiah, your sunrises look like, or where you are, which country you come from. Maybe you can give me an idea, you know, whether you're able to see sunrises or sunsets. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. I've got friends of mine that I went to visit in Mexico City, and I was surprised I did not see a sunrise or a sunset one day for over 1 month in that city. So that was a bit scary. And I also don't remember having seen a single star or the days I stayed in that city. I think we're very privileged to have these wonderful sightings in Africa. And truly that looks like a painting. Well, thank you, Sunrise. I got a mission. I got some job to do. I got a distance to cover. Thank you, Archie, for showing us those beautiful colors there. I think peach today, I'm going to be voting for peach. Of all those beautiful colors there, I'm going to vote for peach as the color that has made my day. All right, we're going to say vamonos and move on to the Republic of the Sausages, and hopefully going to catch up with them. I've seen the Owinos, which was not very bad. Hopefully, if I see the sausages, it's going to be a pretty big bonus. All right. Still very wet, no rains, but the road is still very muddy, and we have to drive very carefully. Once in a while, you end up engaging your four-wheel drive on the low ratio. Carl's good question. Do we ever run to meerkats here? I would say we do not. The closest or the similar animals that we run to, similar to the meerkats, will be the mungus. Mungus are the only ones that we see here, but I think meerkats will be more in South Africa and not here. So the mungus will be the very common or similar or related to the meerkats. And I'm talking of the banded mungus the dwarf mungus that we see in general during the day, and then at night we'll be seeing either the marsh mungus or the white-tailed mungus. I'd also personally be happy to see a meerkat, and I'm sure if you watch the movie The Lion King, you must have seen lots of them there. So saying the road surface is all muddy, and the Mara Triangle has a lot of black cotton soil, which gets very tricky. So once in a while, the park management will come and cover it with different kind of soil just to farm the road, so that when it rains, we don't keep losing track or grip of the road, because that happens a lot. The last few days, we have seen very few cars out on the drive, because most of the guides have been, pretty worried, and they don't want to come out here and get stuck with their gas. I think for us, so far, so good. Most of the vehicles around here are Land Cruisers, and Land Cruisers are much heavier than Land Rovers. And it's a lot easier to deal with the Land Rover out here, even during the rain conditions. Well, let's go back to the gentleman who is trucking, and I'm sure he got a lot of smaller things to talk about.
I am trying to check here what this kind of arachnid is doing. I have got a tick here, and this tick wants to cross to the other side, but now you can see stop. Maybe this tick heard me talking, the vibration of the voice or something, because I can see he's very stationary and camouflaged at the moment. But he was walking before I started talking. So I can see that he picked up something. So these ticks, they come and attack themselves on these trees and grasses, waiting for the host to come pass by. They can be able to even smell the breath of the host coming, and they can also follow them from the shadow. They've got a very long probe. I can see there. That probe is the one, it has got the bulbs, and is the one that they're using in order to get hold of the blood from the body. So they do carry quite a lot of diseases such as the Lyme. It can also be found on this kind of arachnids. So some of them can cause contagious diseases. Contagious diseases such as the mange. Mange has got different types, but one of the sarcoptic mange is the one which is so contagious and which can be transmitted by the mites. And when the mites transmit that kind of a problem, sometimes you get the ticks, they come and bite the same animals. But ticks are not the ones who are generating the problem. The problem of mange is started by the mites. Mites and ticks don't look the same. So these ones are much bigger, and you can see them from far. Mites are very small, especially when the look is going very fast. Now he's pedaling. My camera operator is falling, unfortunately. So you can see, apologies for that. Carol, yeah.
Well, we are terribly sorry about Sydney. He's just lost signal there. We are on Torchwood now, and we've been having some difficulty with our signal as well. It might be the vehicle I'm on, and Conrad is probably going to slap me on the head later when I tell him I've been in Wendy. I think Rusty's the car that's supposed to come to Torchwood. We've been driving around, but we haven't had any luck getting any signal. But anyway, we're going to move on. Because, we need to keep moving. We don't have anything in this position. So bear with us while I turn around. I do apologize about Sydney's technical issues. I'm sure they'll sort them out shortly. And I find it very interesting. Sydney's saying that he loves dung beetles. Dung beetles are his favorite animal. And it makes sense now, because he likes to walk around with a microphone, a dung microphone, close to his nose. Because at heart, Sydney is a dung beetle. I think that is the story, isn't it? My mum watched Sydney and his dung microphone story, and she said it's the funniest thing she's seen in years. He's looking for one, looking for a new one today. So no doubt Sydney will be blowing you all away shortly with the sing and a dance on his new microphone.
Unfortunately, we couldn't manage to pick up with the sighting as there was a signal to the drainage. And now we are just
Well, it seems like Sydney not only hasn't found a microphone yet, he's having difficulty with his sound. Maybe once he gets his microphone set up and sorted, he will be ready. But anyway, here we've got a small pan, a little puddle of water. Sorry, Craigo, for the angle. And this is frequented by elephants, rhinoceroses, of course. And the white thing on the top right of the screen now is the first foam nest frog I've had the pleasure of meeting this season. Foam nest frogs, or grey tree frogs, are very interesting frogs indeed. And that when they mate or when they breed, the female rubs together her back legs and develops this really thick, viscous white foam that the eggs then get laid inside. And talking about dung beetles before, quite interesting in sort of the way that they could almost be connected to the foam nest frog. The dung beetles lay their eggs inside of dung balls, which they bury, and the dung beetles reach maturity inside the dung ball before coming out as a fully fledged adult. The foam nest frogs reach tadpole stage and maybe even one more stage after that inside this nest up in the tree. And then once they are ready, they fall down into the water when they then continue their life cycle. So it gives them that element of sort of survivability. A lot of frogs' eggs are preyed upon within water bodies by fish, by all sorts of organisms. And it's one of the reasons why frogs' eggs have evolved something we call counter shading, whereby from the top they match the bottom and from the bottom they match the top. So they've got a different coloration. They're black on the top and they're white underneath. So when viewed from the bottom, they are almost invisible to the sky, and when viewed from the top, almost invisible from the top. So a nice sort of strategy that frogs have, but no frog takes it further in the safety of their eggs than the foam nest frog. Marvelous to see. But what we do notice is sometimes, okay, first of the season for many viewers. Well, welcome. Foam nest frogs are doing their thing. No doubt there will be plenty more of these. And, well, it all comes down to choice and parental choice, because sometimes you'll find foam nest frogs will develop this sort of foam nest above a water body that unfortunately dries up before the eggs reach any form of maturity. And, well, invariably those youngsters are sentenced to a very dry drop to the ground. So it does mean that they have to pick their water body carefully. And this small little pan, no doubt, will fill up with more water as the rainy season develops, unless the elephants smash it all or drink it all up before then. Very nice, very nice. Summer is definitely here. We had an African cuckoo calling before. We managed to find it calling. Unfortunately, we weren't able to show it to you because we had no signal. And before that, we had two African cuckoos chasing each other through the air. We're thinking it was the male chasing the female because, you know, guys, we chase girls, don't we? And behind them was a fork-tailed drongo, because African cuckoos are the brood parasite of fork-tailed drongos. We were talking about that earlier, about brood parasites. And, well, the African cuckoo is a very brave chap, because we all know the honey badger, the fork-tailed drongo, is the honey badger of the sky. And that'd probably be the last bird I'd go and try and mess with. But the African cuckoo, definitely the bravest of the cuckoos out here, to be able to distract the female and male fork-tailed drongo and then go lay their eggs inside. And I've seen a beautiful photograph of a young African cuckoo being fed by a fork-tailed drongo, because the drongos don't even know. You know, this egg is in the nest, they incubate it, and I don't believe that the African cuckoo kills the fork-tailed drongo chicks. I know the red-chested cuckoo, the chick hatches and pushes out the eggs out of the nests that they're in. And but the fork-tailed drongo with the African cuckoo, I don't think it has those strategies. I think it just hatches and it becomes part and parcel of the family. But I could be wrong. I need to double check that. And then you see this small fork-tailed drongo feeding this big cuckoo. It's the most crazy thing ever. On south and hopefully maintain some signal. It seems as if Sydney has not got a microphone yet, but he's managed to get his audio back, and he's got a little caterpillar that is the favorite food of the cuckoo.
I have got this very small caterpillar here, and he's having some diet. So this caterpillar is not moving at all, but we can see the difference which is taking place there, because the leaf, the whole side has already been taken out, and now the caterpillar is focusing on the other side. So this caterpillar is just passing through this stage. At the end, this might be a moth, or it can also become a butterfly. So the caterpillars concentrate more on these green leaves. And some of them, they've got a very good defense mechanism, and some, they've got false eyes. When seeing them, it's difficult to tell where they're going because they just got eyes everywhere. So I'm just trying to check the way how these caterpillars are attached to the stem of this tree. You can see that the chances of this caterpillar to fall, they are not there. It's so very much attached. So the caterpillars, they... Yeah, by looking at it, it looks venomous. No, I don't think it's venomous. So caterpillars, if you can check, these trees, when they are acting, when it comes to tanning, which chases the big animals, they don't mind. The caterpillars, they will eat until they finish all these leaves. Even when the tree is reacting, they are going to keep eating. They finish all the leaves sometimes in some of the trees. So I have seen one of the trees when we started there, it doesn't have any leaf left. So, but here is just one. Mostly you will see them as a group. So the reason why it's looking like this is to confuse their predator, because they also got predators. So when looking at them, they don't see them as it looks like a stem. It doesn't look like a caterpillar. If you look at the color of this caterpillar versus the color of this plant, the stem is the same. Especially when I'm looking at the main stem. So when the caterpillar is done with feeding, they are going to pass through another stage, a pupal stage, whereby they go now underground and drill. And that is where they are going to come out now and fly. So now let's cross over to Steve, who's got a giraffe.
Thanks, Sidders. Well, we've managed to still maintain some signal here, it seems. Well, at least while we are stationary. And we found 3 young male giraffe that are in the thickets now. It's a little bit jumpy, the one on the right. We're hoping that their jumpiness is going to lead us to some lions. So we are on Torchwood, and the Torchwood Pride is somewhere, well, either on Torchwood or in the Kruger itself. But for now, we can just watch as they catch up on a little bit of breakfast. They are feeding. It's interesting. I always like watching animals feed and then try and figure out what it is that they've been eating. Because you often are surprised at the diet choices. We had the giraffe sort of in the summer of last season feeding on Oh, some cuckoos just flew over our heads there, feeding on silver cluster leaf leaves, which I find really interesting because they are disgusting. Why would you choose something like that when there was still so much more to go by? Well, that giraffe that you're looking at now, let me just move forward, show you what it's feeding on. It looks like it's feeding on a blue thorn acacia. Tell me when you're happy there, Craigo. A little bit more. They both are feeding on the same one now. Let's just have a little look, see. Ah, it's a black monkey thorn. Black monkey thorn, one of the Senegalia acacias. Very, very high in nutrients. The oxpecker jumping on the neck, a little juvenile oxpecker, feeding on its nutrients in the form of blood-sucking ticks. What a life, eh? What do you do for a living? Well, I jump from giraffe to buffalo, feeding on ticks. I love myself some ticks. Beautiful young boys, very regal, hiding behind the African weeping wattle. And Carol, yes, I'm pretty sure giraffes will feed on some of the flowers. Some people even go as far to say that giraffe are the primary pollinators of knobthorn trees with their long faces. I don't think giraffe are the primary pollinators of them, to be honest, but I do think that they do transfer some pollen. But I don't think the acacia has, with a wind-pollinated type of flower, or an insect type of pollinated flower, evolved to be pollinated by a giraffe. But giraffe will feed on seeds and flowers from time to time. I've never actually ever seen them eating a flower, but well, when there are flowers and trees, I'm sure they do have a go from time to time. I've never physically seen it, but I'm going to assume that they do. If any of you out there think that I'm wrong, you're most welcome to tell me. But if you've got a long neck and the ability to pick anything you want out of the tree, I suppose they even from time to time get some caterpillars in their diet. Well, an animal that's very picky and has its nose to the ground quite often, but a very long neck, not as long as that of a giraffe. It has feathers. It can't fly, but it can run very fast.
Well, these are the fastest birds that we got in Africa, but I'm sure you all know one big difference between these birds and all the other birds that you have in Africa. The ostriches do not fly. Now, there's a buffalo in front of that ostrich there, and you can see how some of these animals coexist here very peacefully without, bothering who is doing what. The first one we saw was a female, and now this one is a male. There are certain birds, when you look at their sexual dimorphism, it becomes quite a challenge, especially some of the eagles, the large eagles like the martial eagles or small little birds. But the ostriches are in black and white. There's no gray area telling a male from a female. It's definitely a youngster. If you look on the very hind feathers, are not as dark as the front, but right below the neck. But in general, it should be dark black and very bright white. So I'm guessing this one here is a youngster, just wandering in the Mara Triangle savannah, looking for stuff to eat. Very good vegetarians, as much as you'll see sometimes them eating other stuff like insects. You won't go towards the buffalo and you say each other who is taller than the other. Definitely that buffalo is looking at that ostrich, trying to digest what he is made of. Good morning, buffalo. It's definitely a male, being where he is and looking under the belly. You can definitely tell he's a male. And at this particular time, when they are on their own, they are always very grumpy. Thompson gazelles moving to the left. It's quite a nice scene, or quite a nice sighting we got. And this area is what you call the burnt area. And burnt area means, it translates, there was some very huge fire here a couple of months ago, and the grass burnt down, and what was left, or after the rains that have come, is that lush, short grass that you see, which is very popular with the Thompson gazelles. This is the last place I saw Kakenya. Kakenya is one of the female lionesses that was seen here. But I'm sure, unfortunately, I'm sure you all got the sad news that we lost Naratoy. Naratoy was another female cheetah that we've been following around this area for quite some time. She wasn't well, but, and pretty young. I think she was barely 5 years. But, life is life. Hyena there. It's the spotted hyena. I'm sure I might spend the rest of the day here and forget the sausage lions that I was going to look for, because I got all the animals I'd love to see this morning. Hello, are you scavenging or are you trying to smell for something? This area we are, there's a clan of hyenas here that we call the Happy Zebra Clan. Happy Zebra Clan. And remember, our drive is always very interactive. Should you have any comments or questions, please send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. It's a pretty small clan compared to the North Clan. The North Clan has over 70 members. Not sure how many members are here. Rory, you'd like to know that I've ever seen ostrich chicks. This is barely 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I saw 9 chicks of ostriches, pretty young. And just to let you know, when they're young, the ostrich chicks, you see that it's black and white because it's a male. When they're all very young, a month, 2, they're all brown in color. We're going to be showing you the female now in a few seconds, and you'll see how the brown or how the female looks. You see they're brown or grayish in color. When ostrich chicks are young, that's how they all look, and you cannot tell a male from a female. But the moment they get from 4 to 6 months in age, then you'll get them fledging to either males or females. But while young, it's always very difficult to see. So 2 weeks ago, I saw about 9 chicks of ostriches. So this could be just like a young girl and a young boy here, and you can tell the girl, to me, her feathers look much better fledged than the male. More ostriches could be up to 2 meters. They're tall birds, 2 meters. I'm talking about 6 feet, some of them. But it's generally between 5 to 5.5. But some of them could go up to 6 feet. They are tall birds, and when you stand next to them, you can have like an eye level contact when you are looking at them. Pretty fast birds. When they need to take off, as I said earlier, they don't fly. So their first defense is just to take off and run very fast. They could be feeding on grass here, seeds, flowers. And occasionally, you'll see them picking sand and some kind of soil from the ground or some small little pebbles, which help them to digest their food in the very special stomach that we call the gizzard. Well, ostriches, that's a very good profile. Many thanks. And let's go to a person who got maybe a small little animal in a shell.
You can see I've got this beautiful animal. You can see the slow-moving animal. Look at that antenna, which has got an eye on top. So that is the snail. Look at how beautiful that is. And it's nicely, slowly moving, and it's looking very much slimy and very much soft. So the snails, they normally hide here in these decaying materials, and they come out when the temperature is favorable. I don't want to talk loudly because I can see that they're picking up vibration all the time. They don't have external ears, but they can pick up a vibration. And these snails, if you can check, they are mostly right-handed, and when they are irritated or threatened, they just have to withdraw and go into the shell. But this shell, do they grow it or do they have to get it somewhere? The snails are so very interesting. They come out of the shell from the egg already with the shell. But there's a problem because this shell, it needs quite a lot of calcium maintenance. And when they're born, it's vulnerable, it's so fragile because it's too soft. And they know when they come out of the shell, this is what they're going to do. When they come out of the shell, they are going to eat the shell of the egg that they came from. That is the first source of calcium in order to harden the shell. So all of them must have to eat their own egg shell, and then that is going to harden the shell, and then they come out. So they are going to secrete quite a lot of slimy things when they're moving. And that is medicinal. If you take their secretion, you can use it in order to rub against the wrinkles, and that is going to disappear the wrinkles. And apart from that, you can also use it as a skincare. So these insects, not insects, these kind of animals, there is something interesting you can have from. If you check, they are so rich in iron, and if you eat them, they are going to help you in the body, and they also prevent fatigue. Beard, if you can check how they withdraw, they only withdraw to one side. So they only hide from the other side. So that is what I meant when I said they are right-handed. So you can see that they can be able to withdraw the antenna which is having the eye when they want to pass something. Let's see how he's going to climb that, because I can see there's a very big obstacle in front. Let's see how he's going to make it there. The antennae and everything, it got withdrawn back into the shell. Whenever they pick, look at that. So this kind of snails, when they pick any kind of vibration, everything's going to go back to the body. This is amazing. Look at how slow this kind of... You can see the eye there is nice and a black spot right in the antennae. So he's trying to climb a very big obstacle. David, in terms of the vision, they can see, but they are relying too much on vibration here. So everything they pick up from the ground, they are relying on that. So you can see him nicely holding his big house there. So he's fully equipped. This is so lovely, because when they're moving, you can see that you just see them moving, because they are moving from the underneath parts where they are secreting this slimy fluid which is protecting them from getting hurt from the ground. Now it's coming down. Let's see how it's going to come down there, because to me, from where it is to the ground, it's quite a distance, but it's going to make it. Look at that. Chris, we do take indeed small creatures for granted, but some of them, they can benefit us. Some can benefit us on something which is to do with health, our health. Like I said, eating the snails can help us a lot in the body. Because this helps when you've got an iron deficiency. They help in order to solve those kind of problems. I thought he was going to fall there, but I can see that he's coming down so nicely. Unfortunately, the snails, they don't move the same way snakes does. So they go straight, and the snakes, they use the serpentine movement. Snakes, they go like this. But yes, some of the snakes, like puff adders, you'll see them going straight. and pythons. Sometimes they change and use a serpentine movement when threatened. But when it comes to the snails, they just go straight all the time. And you won't hear them at all. This was one of the best sightings. Unfortunately, that shell is not easy. It cannot fall off. This insect is this animal is attached. Sorry, not insect. This animal is attached to the shell. So that shell, it helps them too much for safety and also for a regulation of the body temperature. When it's too hot, they don't like it when it's too hot. So the shell helps them as well to protect them against the sun. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who is just driving.
Thanks, Sitters. We are indeed driving about, and I wanted to stop and show you probably one of my favorite flowers. We were talking about the giraffe eat flowers, and well, these are my favorites right here. The Chinese lantern, also known as the sickle bush. I really enjoy the flowers of the sickle bush. They're beautiful pinks, and there's always white, and then there's some yellow as well. Megan says they'll make great earrings. Well, Megs, I'm going to get you a pair for Christmas. How does that sound? Megan, you're going to get some for Christmas. So this is the sickle bush, and it's very interesting. I mean, if you look at that flower, somehow once that flower has all been pollinated, you get all of these sort of spiral tortillus-like fruits, which all accumulate in a really tight sort of network. And those are what are the seeds of the plant, and that is where the name acacia, Dichrostachys cinerea, or I'm getting confused now, completely. I got completely confused. Tortillus is actually an acacia species, but they have got very similar shape to the pods. So I have had an absolute mare there, I do apologize. But Dichrostachys cinerea meaning ashy coloured in the bark. The bark is very ashy coloured, often looks like it's covered in lichen, and the A to Z medicinal plant of the African wilderness. The leaves, the bark, the roots, everything very, very good for all bits and pieces and ailments in the human body, and very palatable. This plant is eaten by every single browser around. Connie, babe, it is a delicate beauty, and it looks a little bit messy at the moment, but looking at the flower itself, it always interests me when you look at flowers, because you've got to figure out how is it pollinated. Very interesting, because it's a very strange looking flower. So possibly from bees, possibly from insects like beetles moving across. The yellow would be the pollen, and possibly the pinks there are parts of the female part. It's very hard to say. Maybe I should pluck one. Koigo, should I pluck one? There's lots of them on, so I'm going to grab one just so we can have a closer look at it. Bearing in mind, folks, when you're looking at flowers, you don't ever want to pluck flowers off of plants, because you might be poaching. You might be taking the last remnant that is around. But this is only one flower off of a bush, and there are many of them around. So I'm going to pluck this one. This one looks very pretty. So here it is. You can see the yellow coloration and the pink. Very, very strange flower, but very pretty. The yellow is all pollen, and I don't know what this pink is at all. I have absolutely no idea. Nonetheless, Megan's getting one earring for Christmas. We'll have to find another tree to get the second one. I find that a very interesting flower. I think I'm going to take this back and have a look at it under the microscope, because I'd really like... Sammy Jane, you want to know if they're edible to humans? Probably edible flowers. I almost went and ate that one right there in front of you, but then I thought, I'm just eating Megan's Christmas present, and that wouldn't have been very nice, would it? But it's got a very nice smell. Just a sweetish just a sweetish sort of smell. I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to take it and have a look in the microscope. I have a feeling there might be some rain this afternoon. But we are going to continue on moving down the road. We are popped onto Chitwa because we found some leopard tracks. Let's see what we find.
Called ego, I would say, because you can tell how she's trying to curl, herself with her wings there. And this is the long-crested eagle, one of the most beautiful eagles, I would say, we have in Africa. And we call her the long-crested eagle. You can see the crest on her head. Very good. Did you turn for us? Wonderful. That's very kind of you. She may need to preen her feathers now, align her wings. She's trying to warm up by opening the wings. Still pretty cold here. And I'm not sure what message she's trying to send to us. But definitely she's preparing herself for a day of hunting. And like most eagles will be, are carnivores, and I guess she's looking for any mammals. Good news, great comment. She looks a bit mean, I agree with you. And initially I would say she had taken the posture, good news, over martial eagle. Martial eagle are the ones that look, when they perch, they'll give you that not very good looking posture or profile. But now, this being a long-crested eagle, not sure whether she has learnt some little, looking mean from martial eagles and other big eagles. But definitely she could be looking for small mammals down there. You see how she keeps turning her head? They'll be eating rodents, and she could be chancing for any rats or any mice on the ground. Of course, if a snake or any other kind of reptile comes on her way, she will get it. And what a location she has put herself, what a position to have a great view of the ground, because all that is her hunting ground, and I'm sure she can pick anything moving. Joy in Hong Kong, I would say I do not think we have the African crown eagles in the Mara. I highly doubt. I haven't seen one, I haven't heard of one, and also we do not have the right habitat for them. They love tall trees, and they are more forest birds. And I doubt they would be having the sort of food they would be feeding on. So Joy from Hong Kong, sorry, I do not think we got the crown eagles here in the Mara. I might be confirming that with my colleagues, but I highly doubt we have. We don't have the right forest they would be in, but who knows? I'll double confirm that. Oh, spreading her wings out nicely there. It's very kind of a fashion show she is doing here. But either she got very cold last night and she won't spread her wings there to dry up. Could still have some good showers last night before it is stopped in the middle of the night, I guess. Maybe trying us to get her balance. When they are in flight, you'll see the white windows on their wings, and they look very colorful when in flight. And once they perch, you don't see the white. But you can see the underwings there, or the beautiful feathers looking white. But as much as she keeps drying herself, she will not stop sourcing or looking for food. Not many times I've seen the long-crested eagle being in that particular posture. They're always, having their wings closed against their bodies. But I'm trying to guess, trying to dry up. Buck Rogers, thank you very much for joining us. And just to let you know, we'll always have 2 drives every morning and every afternoon from Kenya and from South Africa. Now, I'll tell you, comparing the views or the sightings of us and the eagles, not sure, but I would say the eagles tend to see better. That is their strongest sense, because they need to see their food and they have very good depth of perception. I would guess eagles may see a little bit better than human beings when it comes, for example, to long distances. But all round, I think we are better in them when it comes to color spectrum. Well, keep watching, and we are very happy for you to have joined us. Again, as I said, we'll have 2 drives every day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and feel very welcome and don't miss any of our great actions. I'll be moving on now to go look for the sausages. Snazzy, what would happen is all birds here sometimes hunt each other. We get bigger eagles hunting smaller birds. We get an eagle like that one also getting concerned, for example, of stronger, I would say stronger eagles like the martial eagle. So Snazzy, I'll tell you here, the birds is always survival for each other, and birds of prey also prey on each other. You get smaller birds like the pygmy falcon, which are pretty small, and pygmy falcon will always try and dare bigger birds than themselves. So out here, birds will always try on each other. It doesn't matter the size, but they will always go for each other. Well, I'm coming to a bit tricky place here to cross, but I think I'll manage. As I do that, let's take you to Sydney to have an animal that looks like an African train.
We have got the millipede, and this millipede is not interested to eat anything from the ground. It's climbing right on top. Normally, the millipedes, they eat the dead leaves, and they also eat quite a lot of decomposed matters. So these kind of animals are part of the dendritic feeders. But here, it's climbing up because it looks like this tree has got a problem on the leaves, and there is insects affecting the leaves, and the leaves are just dying. By this time of the year, the leaves on every tree must be excited. But here, I can see that there is a problem because everywhere I am seeing quite a lot of holes. Look at that. You can see they are moving the antennae. But on this millipede, there is something here. This is unusual. I'm seeing quite a lot of ticks around the body. And when looking at this body, it is a very hard body, but the ticks are climbing it, and it looks very much clean and shining. There is about 5 ticks I'm seeing at the moment. I will show you these ticks just now. Let's just see what he is thinking about to do at the moment. So the ticks are getting a lift on this very big animal. Maybe they want to have a chance to catch these animals from underneath, because that is where the soft parts are.
We can see one there on the right.
So you can see there on the right, there is a tick there attached on the side. I can see that one. So some are walking right on top. Look here. So there's another one right here. Very small. You can see those are very beautiful legs there. So that is where the name 1,000 legs millipede is coming from. Look at that. So we don't always see the underparts of these millipedes, because normally we see them on the ground. But here now, you can easily see the legs there and the arrangements. Yeah, here I can see the... Our beard is on fire this morning, one of my previous guests. Yes, indeed, this is lovely, our beard, looking underneath the millipede and see all these beautiful legs there. This is one of the arthropod. These legs you can't see nicely, but they are jointed legs. So look here, if you come from the side, you'll see there is 2 insects there. Maybe you might see them much better. You can see those 2 arachnids right here. I'm going to show you where with the stick right here. So those are the parasites. Those are the ticks. So there were 3, and one of them moved forward. And that one which moved forward, I can see is irritating him because he's not moving and is trying to hide the head. It means he picked up the movement of that parasite is here now. I can see it's now here, somewhere here. So I don't know if these parasites are going to feed from this, or they're just using this as a host in order to take them from point A to point B so that they can get attached to some of the animals. As I indicated earlier, these kind of arachnids, they can easily pick up the breath from the animals. And these millipedes, they do breathe, make use of what is called spiracles. And spiracles, they are somewhere here in between the body segments. So maybe here where they must be attracted by the carbon dioxide coming from this, because that is where they're breathing, or the air coming from the body. So I can see they are attached to the segment just by the joints. All of them, they are targeting the joints. So now let's cross over to Jackie. She is also out on a drive.
From millipedes in a tree to a goose in a tree. A very big welcome to SafariLive. My name is Jackie, and I have swapped seats with Steve, and behind joining me on camera is Craig. And we're starting off this morning at Chita Dam, one of my favorite places to be. So we'll go back and have a look at that goose in the tree, reminding me of Christmas indeed. The Egyptian goose, even though it is called a goose, is actually a duck. Quite beautiful. And they do tend to have their nests in other birds' nests. And there's quite a lot of activity happening here. You can hear the hippos in the background. And there's a kingfisher that I see also there. This is a lovely place for birding. And you might remember the other day, for all the regular viewers, that I did kind of make a mistake. Well, I realized after that show that I made a mistake, because we were talking about shanks that day, and we had a greenback shank, and a viewer said one of the birds, because there were two, and I thought that it was a juvenile. And it wasn't a juvenile, it actually was a marsh shank after I went back and did the research. As you can see, it is really an array of birds around here.
A marsh sandpiper.
Sandpiper. A marsh sandpiper. Illegal, I cannot see any crocodiles now, but we can have a look around and see where they are. We're having a look around and they don't seem to be about at the moment. It looks like a hippo. Sorry, illegal. I can't seem to find the crocodiles at the moment. They must be submerged under the water somewhere. Raoul, thank you for the question. What is the difference between a goose and a duck? Well, mainly it is a size and a species. Ducks are generally smaller and geese are larger. Look, they're calling out to each other at the moment. I've often seen them sort of arguing with each other. That, so the birds, it is really a bird party today, this morning. And we've got our lapwings that have just landed there. it's quite a festivity there.
Water thickeners, eh?
And water thickeners that have just landed there as well. They're all around. It's quite a illegal. Yes, definitely. I did hear a fish eagle calling just as we came here. My favorite bird. And there we go. Thank you, Craig. Fantastic. There we are. Illegal. There is the fish eagle for you. A beautiful, beautiful bird. And I love the call that they make. It just reminds me of Africa. So the weather is actually really good at the moment. It's a bit overcast and it's nice and cool because we've been experiencing some incredibly hot days the last few days. So it makes a really nice change for us to have a little bit of coolness. And it's 21 degrees Celsius at the moment, which is lovely and cool, which is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at him flying there. As the eagle is doing that, he's actually scanning to see, is there any fish around that he can possibly swoop down and get. I love these birds. So he's looking now to see where he can come down and scan. And it's a very interesting interaction as well because the hippo are right there. So any disturbance from their feet in the water might possibly give the fish eagle an opportunity for him to swoop down and get a fish. Andrea says that fish eagles look like bald eagles. That is quite true. They are very similar, yet the fish eagle is like sort of more solid white. There he goes, flying down. Let's see if we might. Oh, let's see. Almost. He almost got something, and just missed. Oh goodness. Oh goodness, he just missed. He's gonna try again for sure. And it's just so interesting to sit and look. Okay, Meg says she's gonna stick with me to see if he tries again. So we'll have a look and see, is he going to try again? So we were talking about the difference between the fish eagle and the bald eagle, the African fish eagle, and the differences between the two. So you know, oh, it almost got something. Full breeze. There is something that the fish eagle does that I'm not a great fan of, which it is a kleptoparasite, which means that it will actually go and take prey from other birds. And yeah, so it is one of those things that I've always thought about. Will they attack? Not necessarily, but with any animal, if they are threatened in any kind of way, they will protect themselves. There we go, there we go, there we go. It caught something. Oh, it caught a fish. Can you see that? It caught a fish. He caught the fish. He caught the fish and he's successful. That is incredible. That's wonderful. So you can see him there eating. And the fish is still flapping around. It's a tilapia. Woohoo, success indeed, Kim. Woohoo, success indeed. It's exciting to see. I actually thought... Yes, we did indeed. And you know, this is actually a breath of fresh air because we're often looking at other animals on kills, such as lions and leopards. And I'm actually really, really happy to see a fish eagle catching its live prey. So it's a different kind of sighting for us today. Oh, Beard, thank you very much. Yes, it is the first time for me too seeing it live. So both you and I are sharing an incredible experience, and with the rest of the world as well. So the fish eagle, very, very successful. And while we sit here and watch our fish eagle eating so happily, let's go over to the Mara, to David, who is driving.
Out and about this morning. It's very nice. It's always very interesting to see an eagle hunt, and above all, to see an eagle. Well, the Sausage Republic proper, and you can tell I am not very wet and very difficult to drive on. And today, if I don't see them, I'll be more than convinced they have repositioned or relocated themselves to a different area and much further from here. So what I would guess they have done, they could have pushed the boundaries, they could have tried to expand their territories to a much bigger area. Because before they came here, they used to be in that kind of general direction from where I am, which is another, I would say, 10 miles from here. And that's how they ended up getting their name. And get four-wheel drive there. That's how they ended up getting their name, the Sausage Tree. The Sausage Tree Pride, because what they do, they have always been known to love climbing sausage trees that have around in the Mara. That's how they end up getting their name. Jared, good question. Do you ever run to venomous snakes here every other time? And a coincidence, I almost walked on a black forest cobra. You know, when I was not over tree, and process look at that bird because I wanted to identify that bird, and as I was looking down, there was about 8-9 feet black forest cobra. So we get snakes here every other time, and apart from that, we also get other snakes like there are African rock python, which are not venomous. My signal looks a bit dodgy here. Let's go back first to Sydney until I get a little bit better in terms of signal.
I've got some of the old evidence here showing that fire has been in the area some time ago. And it was very strong fires because I can see big trees such as this one got burned. So you can see this, maybe it was not as a result of the control burn. Maybe these were part of the natural fires. So you can see then a lot of evidence and coals here. So these coals, they will also get decomposed after a very long time. But coals are also medicinal used, and this is important. I just want to take some here. There is nice coals this side, Dave. I want to take a little bit of this and show you what you must do with it. Yeah. So the coals are very much important in order to solve as well the stomach problems. Where I come from, when you've got a problem, if you eat quite a lot of sugary stuff, sometimes here you get irritated a bit somewhere here. So in order to solve those kind of problems, early in the mornings, before you eat anything, you must have to go and find the coals. And then you eat them. The charcoals, they are medicinal used. And then you eat this. You eat this. It doesn't have any taste, and then it's going to help you in the stomach, and it's going to absorb all the problems, and you will be fine. Just the colds. Early in the morning, this is what you must do. It's like eating sand, but it's fine. It's something that I've done before. It's a neutral taste. So the charcoal is medicinal used. So the fires, the good news is like burnt popcorns. Now these charcoals, they are so very much important. And if you're experiencing the problems, as I've indicated, if you eat them, you're going to be fine. I can guarantee you it works. I've done it many times before. So I grew up doing it. It doesn't give any problem. Like now, no, I don't even have aftertaste. There is no aftertaste. It's just fine, neutral. No, this is a very nice kind of a medicine, because some of the medicines, traditional medicines, they are so bitter, and some of them are sweet, but this one is just neutral and crunchy. Oh, he's saying her friend used to buy some charcoal pills. You know, I didn't know that they are also manufacturing some of the pills from the charcoals. So I just do it from the fires, and then in the morning, that is when I eat them, and I know they are medicinal used. So this kind of fires. So now let's quickly, before we lose it, go to Jackie, who's got the fish eagle having a breakfast.
And yeah, the poor fish is now almost nothing anymore. Yet the fish eagle, the African fish eagle, is enjoying his breakfast. And I'm enjoying the noise in the background with the hippo, and he's laughing. He's going, That is true, Jackie. The fish eagle is enjoying his breakfast.
Sushi.
It's sushi indeed. Steve says sushi, and it is sushi. Sushi's good. We've been sitting here for a while, and it's been quite a lot of activity around, and Steve and I have been looking at the birds, and there's a lot of birds around, a lot of different kinds of birds. It's exciting for both of us as we love birds. And I had a question from a friend that asked me if I was to be a bird, which bird would I be? And I answered, the fish eagle. Carol wants to know if the fish eagle will eat the bones as well. Well, while I cannot see 100% down to what the remnants of the fish are going to be, I believe that it's probably going to eat everything. They're quite hardy birds, and their throats are quite, used to eating fish, so probably not have a big problem with having the bones as well. And excuse the noise in the background, we do have other vehicles around as we are in Chitwa. Oh, there is a lapwing, a blacksmith lapwing, waiting there to see if they might maybe get something out of this meal. You can see him slowly creeping across. It could be one of two things as well, because they're quite protective of their nests. So having a raptor around, quite close by to where their nest might be, will cause some drama. You can see him chattering away there, letting everybody know, and specifically the raptor, that I'm here. So he's going to probably walk around and see. Very brave birds indeed. They will even dive bomb a raptor if there are any, if there's a nest around, or if they have any chicks in the area. But he's flown off now. So the fish eagle can eat in peace. Isabella says she loves how protective the lapwings are. Yes, me too. Me too. I have seen the lapwings, how brave that they are. They have a certain movement that they do, in that when they either will dive bomb, that's the first thing that they will do, and if they see that they're still not actually successful, they will feign injury, as in they will fold their wing and pretend that they're injured to take the attention away from where the nest is or from their chicks, so that the predator or the raptor or any animal that is a potential threat to them will pay attention to them rather than go towards the nest. So they're very clever little birds. Yeah. And I've also seen this with fork-tailed drongos, who are very, very brave. So there we see the two. Like I said with the Egyptian goose, I often find that when they're walking together, there's always one of them that's sort of chatty to the other one, almost like they're having an argument of some kind. And they'll carry on chatting until, I'm not going to say it's him, but I probably am going to say it's him, because I think it's the female that's chatty, and the male then decides, oh no, I'm actually done with this conversation. So there, lurking in the water, is the crocodile. I did get asked earlier, where are the crocodiles? So submerged, very still and sitting still there, or lying still, should I say. Submerged in the water. There are a few crocodiles around this area. Sherry, yeah, yes indeed. Please, it is important to warn the geese about the crocodile, because crocodiles will eat whatever comes their way when they are hungry. So, and something just jumped into the water there. I didn't quite see what it was. Very close to the crocodile. There's a special thing that crocodiles do, and they're lying like that still in the water. If you're seeing them, it's a good sign. if you're not seeing them under the water, wait for something to happen. So now the geese are looking and seeing. David, that is a very good question. We do have swans in South Africa, and we'll have to give you more information on that, as I don't have the areas where we find them. Yeah, okay. So the swans that we do have in South Africa are not indigenous, they are imported. So we're still back on the fish eagle, is still finishing his breakfast, not yet finished. While we are going to look at more birds, let's go back to Sydney on his walk.
So you can see that I've got some evidence. This evidence is not looking fresh, but looking at the movement of the evidence, you can see that this animal is dead long time ago. You think it's dead? It's not dead. This is an exoskeleton which came out during molting. Molting is when the animals such as the spiders and snakes, they do go through a process of removing the old skin in order to get the new skin to adapt with the environment. So this is an old skin from one of the spiders. So normally you will see somewhere here at the back on top, you will see the crack where this kind of arachnid came out. So these kind of animals, during this process, they become vulnerable and they don't even eat. When they are going towards molting, they are so stressed and they don't eat. And after that, they are so fragile, they must have to harden the skin so that they can be active again. So it's quite a very difficult process. But it does have some of the good advantages, because when they are doing molting, it helps in order to grow the body. If they don't molt, they can't grow. So, and for these spiders, some of them with these legs, you will see them having some of the broken limbs. When they've got broken legs, when they're doing this kind of molting, it helps them in order to regrow the lost part. So it also helps in order to regenerate some of the lost body parts. But not all the time. A spider, I know, has to go through 20 completely different molting stages. And that is quite a lot. So that is quite a lot. Every time they are going through this stage, if they've got lost something, they will regenerate it. But when they're left with only one or two, when they regenerate something, it's going to look like this. Let's check the size of these legs. You can see they are more or less the same kind. But if they lose a limb when they are left with 3 molting, that they molt again, number 18, 19, and 20. That it means they are going to regenerate the fully grown limb. But if they molt when they're at 19 and 20, the limb is going to look like this. The other ones are going to look much longer like this, whereas the other ones are going to look much longer like this, and the regenerated one is going to look smaller. So it means you will see the legs more like this. Then you must know it means they lost the limb before the final stage of Insta. So they do crack the old skin somewhere here at the back, and then that is where they are going to come out. So on some of these, if I can go there now and check nicely, I'll show you the crack. They always got a crack where they came out. So if I just check here much closer, I might see where I can see the crack here. So because this is a dead animal I'm touching, I was not going to do it if it's a live animal. It's difficult to tell, but to see that somewhere here is where there's a crack where this spider came out. But we will find another one which is nice and clear where you can see the opening nicely. James, I didn't get your question nicely. If you can repeat that. The exoskeletons, I am not too sure when it comes to the rain spiders specifically, but the exoskeleton, a lot of insects and arachnids, that is the type of skin they are having. Carol, normally they molt about 20 times. So 20 times they're done with their molting, and that is quite a lot. I can smell here, yeah, I can smell that this kind of a tree has got some flowers. Can you smell that, David? Yeah, so this is the flowers I normally remind people, a flower which smells like dirty socks. This is the one. We are smelling the dirty socks at the moment here where we are. So it is the silver cluster leaf. So the silver cluster leaf, let me show you. This tree is medicinal use, but let's get to this one because this one is so high up. Maybe if we use this one, I want to show you how you can relieve the headache. So this is what you must do. You come to this plant, and then you have to take the bark. So because now the trees are recovering, I don't have a problem. My apologies to the plant. I will show you now how this is done. We come and then we take the bark. We come and take the bark like this. And then we take the inner bark. If difficult to take the inner bark, we use it like this. I'll show you just now. So we take the inner bark like this. This is how you take the inner bark. And then we do this. Yeah, I can see the inner bark is coming. So we take this inner bark. And then when you've got a headache, and then this is what you must do. We measure the head. I'm just going to take off my cap a little bit. You will still hear me. So then I will take this and we tighten this. We tighten this. Yeah, just like this. Now this is how you relieve the headache pain as well. So instead of eating the leaves or the roots or the part of the stem, you just take this and then you tie it against the head. And this is, now I'm feeling nice. And this tribe is creating me some very good temperature. I can feel that now I am not too warm anymore on top here. So now the skin is going to absorb some of the things from these, and that is how you are going to get rid of the headache pain. Jeremiah, it works, and it works very nicely. And it's done mostly by some of the African tribes. If you go to the western part of the Limpopo province in South Africa, you are going to get the Tswanas. Tswanas, they are dominating the most when it comes to the relief of headache in this manner. And we also do the same, or sometimes we use the leaves. So now let's quickly go to Jackie with the fish eagle eating.
I've been absolutely fascinated to see how much of the fish is the fish eagle going to eat? And it looks like everything. It's been an incredible sighting to see. Very fast, eating very, very fast. He's had some disturbances, but very much aware of the environment and what's happening around him. Look at that. Absolutely. Oh yes, when we're hungry we definitely need to eat, and he definitely was hungry, Jeremiah, and he's now feeding. And you can see that blackness on his beak, one of the other distinguishing features that sets him apart from the bald eagle. And you can see his talons. Did you see that foot, how his claws are just lifting up? Just shows you the strength that he has. Or how especially adapted his feet are, so that he can swoop down and catch animals. Just excuse me. David, that's a good question. David wants to know if he usually eats on the ground, and he will eat on the ground, and he will also take his prey into the tree if necessary. So obviously there's not much competition here for him or any other prey that will come and swoop down and steal his prey away from him, steal his food away from him. So he's quite comfortable today eating on the ground. We had some visitors just now, as I have mentioned before, that we are on a reserve and it is the holiday season, so we are going to have a lot more vehicles passing by and guests saying hello. So while we see the fish eagle finishing his meal, we are going to send you over to David in the Mara.
Jackie, to hear you talking about eagles, we got some birds here that we call hornbills, much different from eagles, because I don't know of any eagle that will spend a lot of time on the ground like this. Our ground hornbills here. I think the only eagle I would think that spends much time on the ground would be the secretary bird, which is some type of a ground eagle. But this one's here, that the southern ground hornbills are always on the ground feeding. That's a youngster. If you look carefully, she does not have any red wattle on the neck or at the base of the beak, whereas the adults have that very bright red wattle at the base of their beaks or on the neck. They spend a lot of time feeding for any animals they would get. I'm talking of small mammals. Sometimes they even go for scrub hares. You see that one has a lot of red. That's almost, I would say, that's a fully grown one. Quite endangered birds at the moment. Looking at the IUCN listing, they have been classified as vulnerable. And the biggest concern has been loss of habitat. David, thank you to hear your name, and remember your name and my name, we've got to share the same name. They look huge. I'll tell you, David, of all the hornbills we have in Africa, these are the largest. They're the largest hornbills. They are also able to fly as much as they look big, unlike the ostriches. And I was saying, apart from scrub hares, they also get other reptiles like tortoises. And they've been known, as you said, David, they're big. Also, their beaks are very strong. They've been known to break shells of ostriches to open them up and get the flesh from the tortoises. What is worrying now us is people are doing a lot of logging and cutting trees, which they use for nesting. They normally prefer very big trees. Patrick, a dinosaur, a bird, or a reptile? I would say a reptile. That could be much closer to a dinosaur. Whoop, did that open the mouth? I would say a reptile. When you look at evolution, of birds and reptiles, I would say a reptiles could be much closer to a dinosaur. You're looking at skeletons of dinosaurs and skeletons of reptiles. I would say reptiles are much closer to the dinosaurs. So they always spend the whole flying. Very good job there. Perching. Good job there, Archie, to catch her in flight. And you saw the white wings as she was flying up. And that could be just a commercial break for her before maybe she goes back down to look for more food. The males will have that bright red, and the female will also have the red, but a bit of a purplish or bluish on their red. Oops, that one's definitely dealing with something there on the ground, either killing it or trying to bring it down. And I'm sure she got it. You can see her swallow. That was a good hunt, whatever she hunted. Oops, it's either flying or trying to break it into pieces, and either trying to get some mud out of it. Are you trying to dig it out? Very strong beaks they got, and they're huge birds, as David was saying. Cool breeze hornbills will eat any mammal they get, but I would say like here in the Mara, they tend to feed more on insects than anything else. I'm talking of beetles, grasshoppers, locusts. Do you want to come and share? So I would say here in the Mara, they do more insects than anything else. Okay, fly, very good job. Good, join the other one. Clean your beak. Too much mud. Now this is a tree they would just use to perch and have a little rest. But when it would come to, I would say, nesting, they'll be moving to bigger trees that have bigger holes in them. Well, I'll move on and let's go back to Sydney in South Africa.
I've got something very much beautiful here. I saw that it's very much important for me to share with you this kind of a caterpillar. Look at this caterpillar. The color is so beautiful. And this one is not targeting the leaves. It's surprising because this one is targeting the flowers from these plants. I can see a lot of evidence as well here on the ground showing that the flowers has been taken down. So this one is eating just the flowers. It's not eating the leaves. And when looking at the colors, you can see that it's got some kind of yellowish colors and bright colors. Normally, the insects as well, the bright colored insects is a sign that they are poisonous. So those are called the aposematic coloration. So it's a signal to those animals who eat them that this can be very much poisonous. I'm just trying to check what's happening here. Something is happening somewhere here. And there's another insect trying to dig. Looks like a small beetle underneath the very same plant. So you can see there's a beetle trying to bury itself there. You can see what exactly it is, but here something is happening. So you can see that some of these caterpillars, they target the leaves and some they target the flowers. This one has been there, here for quite a while. You can see there's even a lot of droppings showing that here where I'm pointing now, it has been trimmed. You can see there's no flowers here. And also here, the flowers has been taken down. So it's just targeting the flowers everywhere on this. Oh, he has been here as well. Carol, the caterpillars, the spikes, some of them are attached permanently with these caterpillars. but some of these hairs on them, they can be able to shoot them in order to fight against the rival. And those ones are the ones that irritate the skin. Just like some of the worms, like the precisionary worms, if you touch them, they can be very much dangerous. And those kind of hairs which irritate the skin does kill big animals such as the leopards. And let me tell you how it works. When these animals are contacted with this kind of hairs, the hairs get stuck on them, and now they experience the skin irritation. For them to try and solve the problem, they use the tongue. And when they're using the tongue like this, if the problem is here in between their front toes, you will see they must try to get rid of that, and that kind of a pin is going to pass through to the tongue, and now they must have to try and get rid of that from the tongue, and that is when it's going to scratch too much, and they will start now having blood. So this kind of insects can be very dangerous to some of the big cats. David, I am not sure what kind of a butterfly specifically this is going to turn into. But it must be a beautiful butterfly. By looking at the color of this caterpillar, you can see this is one of the beautiful butterflies. I'm not even too sure what specifically this caterpillar is. So they don't really turn into the butterfly with the same color as the caterpillar, because I'm going to use the Mopani worms as an example. So you will see the color of the worms is not the same exactly color as the butterflies. That was a good sighting. So now we will just try and see if we can find more and more interesting small creatures. So I am not leaving any stone unturned here. We are looking everywhere to find these lovely creatures. So now let's go to David, who is just driving at the moment.
Well, caterpillar, good idea, Sydney. And that is one of the advantages when you go trekking on foot, because you'll always look or see anything small that could be sometimes on the ground. So many things that we miss while we are driving. I have come to a different area completely to chance on their sausages, because the home they have been for months now, I'm convinced they have left. They have left because also when you look closely in that particular area, there's no prey. I mean, there are no animals there that you'd think they would hunt. And with the migration gone, what I'm thinking now, they would be following the buffaloes. They're left following the big game. I'm talking about buffaloes or giraffes or elands. And what I'll be looking for from today going forward is any place I see herd of buffaloes. So earlier I said there's an area they used to live, and that's the area where they got their name from, the sausage tree pride, because there are a few sausage trees in that area where many of us would come and find them on top of the trees. So I got a feeling they might have gone back there. That area have so many streams that do not dry up, and more often than not, we have seen the animals that will stick around there. Even when the migration comes in, those animals will be there. The migration leaves, those animals remain there. So I'm trying now to believe that's where they would have moved in. If not there, I have no idea. Going to Serengeti, I would rule that one out, because two females, as I said, they are pregnant. And it's not when lionesses are pregnant, they want to travel long distances. So I'm very convinced that's where they would be. And this is the road I've taken on my way home to just chance and see if I see any sign or if I'll be able to see any animals in that area, other, some kind of prey. I'll be convinced that's where they are. And they may also want to expand their boundaries, as I said earlier, to get a bigger territory than what they have at the moment, for only one reason: to increase the chances of getting food because of the calves that are just about to arrive. So the whole ball game from now going forward is to look for herds of buffaloes. Any place I'll see herds of buffaloes, they'll always have a guess that those lions could be following them. Alrighty, we got two secretary birds here. Not sure whether they're going to the office, and today being a Saturday, let's have a look at these birds that we call the hunter's birds, and we call them secretary birds. And definitely, just like the hornbills that we saw earlier, they are looking for some food. Hello, Secretary Bird. Today's a Saturday. You shouldn't be going to the office. It's too early. You should be home for the weekend. And just like the ground hornbills, they'll always get most of their food on the ground. And they are called Secretary Bird, which means a hunter's bird. And they're very good in hunting. And they'll hunt anything from snakes to lizards to frogs to insects. Very good hunters. I think he's an Arabic word, secrétaire, and there's a bit of French corruption in it, and it translates to a hunter's bird. Very majestic when they walk, like, girls in high-heeled shoes. Sometimes you see the feathers come into their knees. Joel, yes, they look cool, and especially more so when they're walking. And I was talking about the feathers that comes to the knees. We have always said they look like they're wearing some black miniskirts. Very cool looking tail feathers, very elongated, and also feathers behind their heads, and beautiful makeup they have on their eyes. The best time when you see I've seen them once in a while, pretty small snakes, swallowing them when they're still alive, which would mean their digestion system is pretty good. As long as you don't actually get the venom, I think it would be easy for them to eat and get it out, digest it. I was saying earlier, I would call them ground eagles. They are much closely related to the eagles, but they spend most of their time on the ground than the normal eagles, which are always perched up on trees. Is there any reason why their knees bend backwards? I would say also for ostriches also bend backwards, and I think that would help them when they're stamping on the snakes, when they're stamping on whatever they want to kill. Maybe it's a lot easier when they bend backwards, but I would say all birds, their knees bend backwards. But I would say for the secretary birds, it would give them an advantage if they need to bend backwards and then just push the legs like that to kill their prey. That could be the only reason I would think. Otherwise, I would not know any other reason why they bend backwards. And looking at ostrich also, the ostriches, their knees also bend backwards. And I would guess most birds, maybe that one would give them a leverage just to shoot and hit their prey easily as they kill them, then swallow them. All right, very nice country here. I got very flat. I can see like almost 2 kilometers away. Should I be lucky, this is one area I should be able to see a cheetah, like the burnt area I was before. But the reason I came here is to go back to the very original home where I started seeing the sausage tree, Pride. And then they relocated to where they've been for the last, I would say, 3-4 months. They've been there for a very long time. But all this area is their area. The only other pride they would share with is a pride we call the Salt Lake. and they'll always tend to push each other once in a while. So buffaloes will be making the difference for us now going forward. So we'll always see buffaloes and we follow them. And I'm talking of buffaloes being very huge animals, and Sydney is talking of very small things.
Look at that, I've got a very small frog here, and this to me looks like a small platana. It's got a very nice round shape, and this is the frog that we were collecting a long time ago, early 1960s. These are the frogs which were used in order to test pregnancy. So what they were doing is they go and collect the urine from the suspected lady, and then they take the urine and inject it by the cloaca of this frog. And if this frog lays eggs in 3 days' time, it means the results are positive. Someone is pregnant. What makes the frog to lay eggs is what is called a gonadotropin hormone. This hormone is only secreted by those who are pregnant. So it means if you're not pregnant, then there is no way this is going to lay eggs, because you don't have that secretion of that kind of a gland. So normally you find them deep in the sand. They've got a very nice round body. Yes, and I'm not sure if those eggs that are coming after the urine has been injected are going to generate babies or not. But they do lay eggs after 3 days, and 3 days is maximum, before or less than 3 days. So this was used as a pregnancy test. That is something we don't see very often. So no, that frog is not poisonous, but some of the frogs, yes, they are poisonous. So it's just that you saw the markings there that is trying to be camouflaged. That was a good... I haven't seen that kind of a frog for quite a long time. It is this frog as well as the African cloud frog, which is used in order to test pregnancy. So the platanas have got nice round body. They look beautiful. So maybe we're going to find again something very small. So we are just looking, as I indicated, anywhere and everywhere. So, but here now I am not seeing a lot of interesting things. They don't grow very big, those ones. They grow up to this size. Let me just come to the clear space here and do a little bit of a drawing. That frog, and then now I'm going to even show you the shape. If you look at these other frogs, they've got a diamond shape like this. The other frogs that we see most of the time. And then you see the legs there. That one is not like this. That one is like this. The shape is like a tick. It's like this. And then you see the legs there. So when it's fully grown, it's just this kind of a size. It cannot grow much bigger than this. So you will see that the body is very much fat, but the size is too small. Body gets fat in a very small body. Oh, it's very much. I just found something, but this is one of the old seeds. So these seeds are associated with some of the insects. Oh, here, I think the ant just fell. Just want to see. Yeah, you can see there. This is the seed which can be used in order to make some tea to relieve the chest complaints. And apart from that, This is what you must check. I'm just going to go down here and take the other one which is not open, like this. Some of these things, if you look at them here, you will find that they've got a little hole. These little holes are dug by some of the birds, and sometimes the little hole are drilled by some of the insects. This is from what is called the bush willow. Some of the butterflies is called a guinea-fowl butterfly. Lays their eggs inside this kind of a seed, and when the bush babies are around, they eat these guinea-fowl butterflies, and they come here and they take this, they open it, and they eat those kind of the larvae from the guinea-fowl butterflies. So bush babies and butterflies, they get along. And so now let's cross over to Jackie, who is just driving around.
Okay, so we've left the Fish Eagle, and now I'm just driving to see what else we can find. We did come across some squirrels that were alarm calling, and after looking around we couldn't quite find tracks or any signs of what they were alarming about. The go-away bird was there with the squirrel, and quite a trustworthy bird as well, because if there is a predator around, it will definitely call, go away, go away. That's why they called the go-away bird. So I was heading towards the hyena den because I just had a feeling that maybe with this weather being the way that it is, we might get to see them. So yeah, bear with me. Let's have a wonderful day here in the Sabi Sands. And remember, you can comment and question us anytime on #SafariLive. Okay. So we haven't lost Steve. Steve is my trustworthy companion together with Craig today. Been used to me sitting with James, and James is away and will probably be soon here with us in the Mara. I've been looking around for some tracks to see if we can find anything, and with the weather being the way that it has been and the rain having come down, it's very hard to actually see the tracks quite defined. Let's see. Tom, I could go on and on about hyenas, and our hyena whisperer or hyena matriarch Jamie, the expert, is not here right now. And yeah, so what I find most interesting about hyenas, Tom, is the fact that they're really hardy animals, you know, from the perspective of that they are capable of surviving in any situation. What I love most about them is how cute the pups look, and I've seen a hyena wallowing in water, and it just sometimes really amazes me how they just seem so relaxed sitting in the water, almost submerging their entire body and almost their face as well. I call them the cleaners of the bush. Ellen, yes, they do indeed have nutritious milk. The pups that are born very strong indeed because of this nutritious milk that they have. Let's have a look here. I'm just going to... I'm actually just going to stop here for a while and take a listen. And while I do that, let's go to Sydney, who's looking at some dung.
I've got something here with me, and this is amazing. Look at this, a very big pile of sand. And you see these droppings here. You can see the string of droppings, and you can see that this elephant was not that old. He's still a young elephant. So now, every time I tell people not to drive over the elephant dungs because of what we are seeing now. The dung beetles are divided into different groups. We have got those who are tunnelers, and then we've got those who are dung rollers, and we've got these ones who are feeding straight from the droppings. So if you come and drive over this, you might kill these insects underneath because they are feeding on these droppings from underneath now. And unfortunately, this one is on the road. And if you can check something else here, is that the color of soil here that we are seeing, just look at this color compared to the color of soil here next to us. The color is different. Here the soil is much more dark black, and this one is much more light brown. It's telling you that the dung beetles are helping in order to overturn the soil which is not nutritious under the ground and put it on top. Is exchanging, and now this soil is going to get fertilized by the dung beetles themselves and the other decaying or decomposed matters. So the soil on top here is the ones that support the seeds growth, is the ones that support the seeds germination. Underneath here the soil is not nutritious. So the very thin top layer of the soil is the one rich in humus. Humus is just the fertile, decomposed, dead material. So without this humus, it's very difficult for a seed to grow. So when they're overturning the soil, they are helping for the seed's germination. So you can see everywhere here where we are walking is quite very much dark. And this dark color is brought by the leaves and the grasses getting decomposed all the time by these insects. And they are ready in order to support the seed germination. And now the elephant dungs, it doesn't have to be dry in order to touch it. You can touch it. It's even medicinal used when it's like that, because the fresh elephant dungs and the fresh cow dungs, you can use them in order to treat sinus. If you go when they're fresh like that, you open and you take the droppings and sniff. It's a very strong smell. If you do that, it is going to chase away the sinus. Here is just that I can't see the fresh tracks anymore. I was going to show you how it's done, but if I've come across one, I will show you. Now, let's cross over to the Masai Mara.
Well, I was talking about buffaloes, and here is one huge herd of buffaloes with lots of egrets with them. And these buffaloes are what we shall be using maybe for the next couple of months to guide us to get the lions and egrets. How beautiful they look in flight. And just look at the beautiful Masai Mara triangle from where we are. And it's such a great view with these buffaloes looking at us and not concerned by our presence. Now, the big highlight of the Mara and the Serengeti is always the migration of the wildebeest. But once they leave one area to the other, as they have left the Mara for Serengeti, we are now left dealing with these big animals in terms of following the cats, and more so the lions. Now, these egrets here, as these buffaloes move in the grass, what they do, they keep disturbing the grass, and any insect that will be there will jump up, just like, we have seen in the cows. I'm sure most of you have seen cattle. and when the cows move in the grass, we'll have the cattle egrets following them. It's the same concept here. So I won't exactly call it a symbiotic relationship, but it's one relationship where the egrets benefit more than the buffaloes. I don't see where the buffaloes benefit from the egrets when they get them the insect. Always on the move, but not like the wildebeest. They do not migrate like the wildebeest, but they definitely cover some good ground when they leave one area for another. For food, for water, buffaloes have been known to drink a lot, just like the cows. And that's why when you see the buffalo dung is always half solid, sometimes, half liquid. David, very good. You live in Ohio. That must be some place in America, I guess. There's a state in America. And good to know that you've seen cattle egrets in Ohio. And it explains also why we have them here, David, because we have the buffaloes as much as, well, the buffaloes are not in the same family, the cows, but it's the same concept. As the cows move in Ohio, you have seen them disturbing the grass, and those egrets, that's exactly what they get. Same case here, when these buffaloes, I call them cousins of the cows. All right, we need to move now. You never know where we might get the lions. Buffaloes, thank you very much. At least I have an idea of where you buffaloes are. Should I come, maybe this afternoon or tomorrow, I will know where to start. As I said, they do move. They don't migrate as many miles like the wildebeest, but also they have what you call mini migration, one area to the other for food or for drink. Question, you'd like to know whether buffaloes have a breeding season. Unlike the wildebeest that have a breeding season, and we know the wildebeest come the month of February next year, they'll be dropping their young ones in Serengeti in Tanzania. Buffaloes will breed all around the year. So anytime you come to buffaloes, you'll see young ones of different ages and, small, big, like that. So they don't have a particular breeding season, buffaloes. They'll have calves all around the year. All right, at least I've known where those buffaloes are. This gives me some idea of where to start looking for lions later this afternoon or still this morning. Joy, Hong Kong, good again to hear you. And I think your question is, do the eagles do the alarm calls? I guess that was your question. Not really, not much would hear from them in terms of alarm calls. Egrets also, I would say, egrets do not do any alarm calls. They're always very quiet birds, but you got particular birds that we know for a fact that give wonderful alarm calls. And I'm talking of, say, oxpeckers and drongos. Oxpeckers and drongos are very good in giving alarm calls. Egrets, they're always very quiet. And I'm also enjoying looking at the predators of egrets, because if they do give alarm calls, you'd see when they fly, as much as they'll not give alarm calls in terms of, making particular calls. There are certain birds, when you see them maybe flying or moving in a particular way, you can tell there is a concern. I do not know who goes for egrets, but maybe the big birds of prey, the big raptors, I'm sure, would go for egrets if they get a chance. Okay, where could any cheetah be? This is one area I have seen a cheetah that we call Kakenya. William, how is Oregon? And you're asking whether we still do drives in the night in the Mara. We are always here, like today. I'll be out here up to about 7 o'clock at night, and tomorrow and the rest of the days, I'll always be out from 5 o'clock East African time up to 8 o'clock at night. So we are still out. It's only on certain special occasions, maybe when we are doing TV shows, that we stay maybe the whole night. But every day we'll be out here until 8 o'clock at night. That is East African time. In South Africa, they'll be out until 7 o'clock Central African time. I have to keep my eyes open now, just in case I'm going to see something interesting. Could be going through a drainage here. Hopefully my signal will hold. So most of the streams now are full of water, of all the rains we've been getting, which to me, I'm not sure I want to call the short trains anymore. They are all like, hopefully going to close here. The lane, they look big, they sound big, and maybe not as short as would have expected them to be. You can see the stream I'm just about to cross have lots of water. All right, I just got back to the beautiful Jackie in South Africa.
Okay, welcome back. I am actually trying to get to the hyena den. It is a little bit of a mission because they moved from the previous den and they've come to a new den, which is slightly more challenging. No trees are harmed in this process. So as we go along, I'm going to see if I can slowly approach quietly on the other side, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of activity around here, so just going to have a look and see if there's any signs of the pups anywhere nearby. Angie, that's very dependent on them and what is around. You'll find they're moving dens a few times, so we're not really 100% sure how many times they do move dens. That is all dependent on the safety around, and as we know, Corky has had some drama with the previous den where they were, with the lion coming through and attacking her. So as the pups get bigger, you would have seen, all you other viewers might have seen that the den was slightly smaller, and this is a larger den because the pups are growing now and they would need a little bit more space and have safety still. I'm looking around and we have got some birds around. There's a beautiful magpie shrike there, sitting so nicely. Oops, it's flown away. So I can see there's nothing really going on around here, and I'm just going to go out of the area because for the safety of the pups, we don't want to disturb them. It's not advisable to be around. So I'm just going to reverse a little bit and keep Steve and Craig safe from all the trees that are around, because we do get some very thorny trees. And it's not fun when the driver crashes you into one of them, which was something that Pat got to experience a little bit of yesterday when we were out on our drive. But thankfully it wasn't a thorny tree. It happened to be a bush willow. And while I'm trying to get out of here, let's go to Sydney, who has found some pretty flowers.
I'm just in the middle of the flowers. Some, they call them Christmas flowers. These are the flowers from the sickle bush. And these flowers are also used traditionally in order to make the headman's tassels. In order to make the headman's headdress, they are also used by some of the people, and they look very nice when they are designed in the form of a hat. So this is the sickle bush tree, and you can see the bees are not here at the moment. Maybe the bees are done already with pollination. So the sickle bush is one of those plants which are also very much medicinal used. And when it comes to the scorpion stings, the snake bites, this is the medicine. So it works very nicely in order to solve that. Steve promised earlier to bring one back to one of the ladies at the final control. It makes a very nice earring, I guess so. So now here where I am, it can be dried for hairdress, and something else you can do with the flower. If you take something like a varnish or something like a glue, you can be able to paint it nicely, and then it can stick and stick all the time. So people, some of them are using this in order to make quite a lot of different things. So there's people who are very much creative when it comes to these designs. There is different, sickle bush has got two types of flowers. One is that one where you see that it's yellow and purple. Another one you will find it yellow and white. So they don't really at the end tend to be completely yellow. So I can hear some of the francolins are making noise much more this side. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is waiting to show you something.
Well, I'm back to the area where I think the sausages used to live before, going to where we have been seeing them the last few months. And this was the area, but you can tell it has been raining a lot. It's a bit rocky area, and what I would want us to do at one point, if I see one of those trees that we call the sausage tree, bump here. Nicole, you are where have you been? For quite some time. I'm talking about the weather. We have the last 2 weeks they have had, I would say, massive cancellation. The weather has been raining in the morning. And I'm sure Niconico viewer, you know, the hot air balloons are propelled by wind. So without any wind, they cannot take off, they cannot just glide. So, not sure that my signal is still holding, but if it's still holding, sorry, I was going through a drainage there. And Niconico viewer, the cancellations will always happen once the pilot decides it's not a good day to fly because of the weather. Again, as I said, the balloons or the baskets are propelled by the wind, and if the pilot makes a judgment, wind is good. I saw 2 balloons in the air. On good days, and especially when you have what's called the peak season, that's the month of June, July, August, when it's maybe summer out there, and it's the time for the migration here in Kenya and also in the Mara. We might see at times about 10 balloons in the air, 10 baskets. All the people enjoying this magnificent beauty of the savannah in the Mara. So this is the area. Originally, we started seeing the sausage tree pride, and the trees around here, we can't see them at the moment because they are on the other end, are the ones that made us give them the name, the sausage tree pride. All right. But I know where to come this afternoon, later in the day, or maybe tomorrow morning. So it's a good areas to find cheetahs too. So I'm gonna keep soldiering on and see what I see on the way. All right. I hope my signal is good. I hope I'm still live there. Excellent. This area, I think they had more rain than where we are coming from. And it's very muddy. I only have to drive very carefully and make sure I do not get off the road. Unfortunately, as you said earlier this morning, sadly we lost Naratoy. It's one of the females that have been roaming this area. But again, these things will happen depending, on the edge here. She was unwell and not much the vets would have done about her. I think she lived a pretty good life, 4.5 years. If I remember very well,
look at that. I have got another type of a millipede. This is not that millipede we saw earlier. This is a field millipede. Look, this is a fully grown millipede. It's very much small. You will see when it's passing there. That is the actual body size of this millipede. But also, when it's threatened, it does as well coil itself in order to avoid predation. It's the first time for me to see the field millipede here in Juma. I normally see those big ones. Look at that. It looks gorgeous. You can see the segments as well there. It's not too much of it. It's very much small.
Put your hand next to it so you can see.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if the females are shorter than the males. So I just want to see here so that we can be able to judge the size when it's passing by. Look at how tiny this is. Just this size. They can pick up cold breathe. They are shining. Look at that. The millipedes, they spend much of their time every day cleaning themselves, and they have been even recorded after mating every time cleaning their reproductive organs, their gonopods. This is quite a lovely. Mrs. Lapwing, it is true, the Juma Game Reserve at this stage, there is quite a lot of millipedes, and I'm seeing only those very big ones. This is the first tiny little field millipede I am seeing today. So let's see where it's going. Maybe it's going to hide there. Michelle, if you check the millipedes, they do have the very strong mouth parts. Millipedes, they do bite. So it's just that here we can't see it nicely. Now it's disappearing. Yeah, he is. Now I can see trying to bring us to the end of the show as he just got disappeared now. And it has been very interesting having you this morning, and we have seen quite a lot of tiny little stuff, and we have seen a lot of big animals as well here by the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park, and more sightings as well, which took place by the Masai Mara in Kenya. And it was a privilege having you as part of our guest this morning, and hopefully we are going to meet again this afternoon, where we're going to carry on and look for the other interesting cats.